I mean, as far as the training goes, I mean, you're doing a lot more cardio than before, or?
Yeah, I think that most of the guys who go up to Jackson's do a lot more cardio than they probably did before.
Yeah.
I kind of talked to you before a few weeks back, and you hadn't got a chance yet to do the hill. You hadn't got a chance yet to go up to Jackson's. How was that? How was
yeah,
the
that thing kind of sucks going up there. I remember just going up the tram to take you up there. My ears pop. I got a little lightheaded. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I got to, you know, it definitely is an experience.
Did you make it?
No.
What is the biggest difference between you now and then you coming into maybe the junior fight? Is it a game plan? Is it what shape you're in? Is it just you got a little bit of fire back?
I'm definitely in a lot better shape. I think that, you know, in the junior fight leading up, obviously, you know, I was training at home. Those are the reasons why I went to Jackson's in the first place, was because of some of the practices I would come late to or miss, or, you know, have the kids there, and that's a distraction. It doesn't allow you to fully focus. And then in between, if you're not going home and resting, like, you know, Jackson's in between practice, I got to go back to my hotel room and just, you know, lay on my back and rest, and so I had a better performance and a lot more effort to put towards the next practice. Whereas before, you know, I'm running around with the kids, you know, being Mr. Mom, you know, hanging out with the wife. Oh, you want to go have lunch together? Sure, let's go eat lunch, or eat at the mall, I'll meet you there. Then, you know, how great is the practice going to be afterwards? You're still not even really recovered from the last one. So, you know, definitely my physical shape is, you know, not even comparable to what it was with the last fight.
Was it tougher, easier than you thought it would be, being away from your family? Was there ever a weekend where you didn't want to go back to
every day. If my wife wanted to ever release some of the texts I sent out, I probably would insult a few people. Yeah, there was times, especially, you know what, I mean, I go up there, you know, I'm at a level to where I can go into most gyms and I can kind of be off. I'm still going to dominate people. I wouldn't say that happened too easily at Jackson's. If I went in there and I had an off day, I was definitely looking at the clock going, oh man, when is this whooping going to end? And so that enabled me to, where was I? I was just thinking about some of the ass whooping they received. I lost myself. So too much brain damage now.
You said before you went down there that one of the side effects might be that you would get angry from being away from your family a little bit and kind of get you fired up before the fight. Did that happen? Is that what
Absolutely. There was definitely a focus there that I necessarily didn't have before. Well, you know, if you take something away from somebody and you put them a little bit uncomfortable, and I think that's what, you know, I think that's a common human trait. I think that's why when people go off into the military, you know, they don't get to go home in between training sessions. You know, they don't get to see the wife and kids. You're off, you know, in practice, and I think that isolation just kind of leads to focus and drive. And also the thing too is, you know, when I'm home, you know, the wife and kids, hey, let's go to the movies. Or a lot of times me, you know, like, hey, I feel my back is stiff today. Hey, you guys want to go to the movies and go have dinner? I'll call everybody up and just say I'm not feeling well, you know, and skip out. Well, when I have that same feeling and same, you know, aches and pains and I'm up at Jackson's, I'm not going to sit in a hotel room. I'm away from my wife and kids already, and now I'm just going to sit there and not go to practice because, you know, unless there's a good reason. It's like, well, you really are legitimately hurt. You need to rest today. We're going to a therapist to come over and we'll work on you. But, you know, I'm definitely not just going to sit there and chill and watch TV. I've already taken a flight out there and I'm in the room training. There's no reason to, you know, stay home now. You're more focused and determined because of the sacrifices that I make and that my children had to make.
What makes you say that you're in better shape? Because, you know, you were training for a 5-round fight with Junior. I'm sure that you went in thinking I have to be in shape for this fight. What feels different now? I'm sure it's not just running longer on a treadmill. What is it that makes you feel like?
Well, I mean, I got to see my performances. You know, Chris Luttrell out there was one of the conditioning coaches, and so he put me through an evaluation. And I thought I was in okay shape, and found out I wasn't. And then, you know, you get to see the progression. And then also too, just watching the film of my sparring leading up to this fight and training, you know, the amount of rounds I could go, and as far as also the intensity. There wasn't the lack of just trying to get through things and survive and just kind of look for areas to breathe. Complete just no problem, I'll keep going. And, you know, and also too, you know, how fast I recover in between training. I didn't really realize that was such an important aspect of fighting, but, you know, it got to the point where within 20 seconds after a hard round, I was attentive and staring Greg in the eyes, like, okay, what do I got to do this round? What do you want? And not dreading looking at the clock, going, man, the round's gonna start again, I'm still breathing hard. My heart rate would lower instantaneously, especially towards the end of the camp.
What was that first evaluation like? Did you do it right away as soon as you got down?
Yeah, well, first they gave me a week just to get acclimated to the elevation, and then yeah, and it actually wasn't. It didn't seem that hard, you know, like push up, you know, pull ups, jumping up on top of a tire for time, just 5-minute round of a scramble, basically something like a lot of CrossFit guys would probably do, and then you know, halfway through it, I'm just like, you know, you're sitting there and you're dizzy. They're like, no, keep going, let's go. You know, a few more reps, you know, and then a couple of the exercises I couldn't even complete. I'm sitting there staring at them like, okay, time's gonna go, you got 1, and they're marking down. That's a 0 for this round. I'm like, damn.
How do you view this fight for you? How do you view Daniel as an opponent, and what does this fight mean in your career?
Well, I mean, every fight is an important fight in UFC. I mean, I don't really have any that I say that I go into and go, well, if I lost this one, it really isn't going to hurt me too much. But as far as Daniel's an opponent, I think, he's dangerous. He comes from a great camp. He has, all the right tools to be very successful in his career. I think, limiting factors are his size. I'm curious, how well he's going to do, against some of the larger guys now in the UFC. I mean, he has fought Bigfoot and Barnett, but to be consistent over that period of time, and I think he himself kind of knows that too. He's already, made allusions to fighting at 205. I think his height, if you look at it, I mean, I was standing there staring over across and watching him and Melinda standing side by side, and we have the same height of opponent. I'm like, wow. Me and Benson are fighting the same guy with the same reach. One just quite heavier than the other.
What'd you say to him up there?
No, it was just a little jibber jabber back and forth. Nothing too serious.
I hate asking you this question because some fighters, they almost get offended if a reporter brings this up. And I'm not suggesting that you should retire or need to retire, but after that fight, I know that heading into that, you were using that as motivation, like this might be the last title shot I ever get. Did you have any conversations with your wife? Was it ever even creep into your mind?
No, it's creeped into my mind. Obviously, I want a quality of life after fighting, and I took quite a few shots in that fight that didn't feel too hot, and so. What am I doing? What can I possibly gain more? Have I not settled something? But I think the first step that actually helped out was when they, Malky, called up my wife and was like, hey, how's he feeling? And she's like, well, why don't we get him on the reality show with John, and he can be around some other young guys and people that are hungry to be in the UFC. And that was actually probably the first step to actually, okay, I really can do this again, and I see motivation. And then that's when the conversation came about going to Jackson's and taking the next step of trying to be motivated and directed.
Was that tough for you being a veteran, having it at home base in Vegas for so long, doing so well, being a former champion? Was it tough to come to terms like maybe I do need to switch a camp, maybe I do need to make these changes?
No, I mean, that's kind of the downfall of my personality or being me. I'm intelligent enough, like I think most guys here, we all know what we need to do. Think about it. Has anybody ever come to anybody here and said, well, you should eat this, or you should take this, or this is the vitamin you should have? And you're like, well, no shit, Sherlock, I've read that 1,000 times. But it's whether you're going to do it or not, and that was what the one situation came to. It wasn't like it took it wasn't like it was an epiphany when they're like, "Hey, you should train at Jackson's." I'm like, because of this, this, and this. I'm like, you're absolutely correct. I don't want to. It was one of those things where like, hey, you shouldn't eat that. I understand I shouldn't eat this whole pizza to myself, but I want to. So, just that was what it came down to. Was just the wife just sitting there having a heart-to-heart with me and my father, and just sitting there going, this is what needs to be done, and if we're going to continue to back you up in your career and support you, you have to give the same amount of effort that we're giving. We're not going to sit outside the cage and watch you again, go out there and get hurt. If it happens and you prepared as well as you possibly can, then so be it, man. The other guy's tough on the other side. It isn't like I'm fighting slouches here in the UFC. It's going to happen. But if you go out there and they know, they're like, man, he didn't prepare for this, he took off too much time, he's not focused, not motivated, and then you're out there being pinned down and punched in the face, then you have your family intervene. So I think it was one of my things just to have to show them that I'm as committed to it as they are.
Is there any resentment with that kind of taken into effect, that you are such a betting underdog headed into this fight, being a former champion, East Strike Force, all that stuff?
If we go through my career, I'm always the underdog. I think the pretty boy face just does not bode well for people thinking I'm going to smash somebody.